All right, today we have a very special guest on the Sunshine Podcast. I found her on TikTok reacting to her first Times Square billboard. She is the Gen Z Hannah Montana living that double life. You may have heard about her on the L Train or know her as the patron saint of pop music. Today, we are talking to Meg Smith. Meg, welcome. How are we doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to talk to you. You have been rising all above everything right now. I feel like everyone is talking about you and it's amazing. And I'm just so excited to learn behind all this new music and just about you. It's going to be a really great time.
Yay, thanks. I'm excited to talk about it too.
So just give us a breakdown on who you are. I know you were talking about you've been doing this for what, 10 years now?
Yeah. I have been releasing music. I actually checked the other day. I was on TuneCore, which is how I distribute because I'm an independent artist. I do it all
Yeah.
myself. And I don't know what I was doing. I was doing something on there. And I was like, oh, I wonder when the first song I released was, which is now very much off the internet. Like I took it down many years ago. But I think it was probably 2015, 2016 was the first song I ever released. So I was like, oh, shit, I've been doing this for so long, which is crazy. But yeah, I started when I was really young, playing. I grew up in LA, so I would force my mom to drive me to open mics all around Los Angeles and sing my little songs, um, which is crazy that I've been singing and writing songs and trying to be an artist for so long.
That's amazing. I saw the post that you did on Instagram posting of you going to radio stations and
Oh
stuff
my
as
God.
a teen. Like that is the most iconic pre-Taylor Swift thing ever.
Yeah, I just, I think no, I feel like music industry is interesting because a lot of the information about how it works is very gate kept. So and I come from a family that is not in music at all. Like my mom was a professional dancer, but in the 70s, and she doesn't know anything about how music works. Like my dad plays guitar, but he was a corporate lawyer. So he was like, girl, they were like, we don't know anything, but they were like, if you want to do this, we'll drive you where you need to go. We won't say you can't do it. I remember being 15, and yeah, I mean, I was such a Taylor Swift fan that I was I think my first trip to Nashville, I was 14. I was like, Mom, you have to take me to Nashville. I have to be a songwriter. And she was like, okay. She had no idea. And yeah, that radio trip was crazy because I remember literally being like, Mom, if I put together a list of radio stations, will you drive me? She was like, sure, I don't care. So I just Googled all the pop radio stations I could find in California. And we were on the road for I think close to a week, just driving places. We literally baked brownies at home, put them in little boxes. I glued my little press kit together and bought folders from Staples, and it was very DIY, and I was literally 15. It was crazy. And we just showed up and knocked on doors, and not a single person talked to us. So it was not worth it, but also looking back, it was it was a fun experience. It was if you have this goal in your head of wanting to do something, be a musician, and there's no roadmap, I was like, well, I guess I'll just knock on doors and see what happens, so I don't know where I got the confidence, but I'm glad I tried it.
They need a do-it-yourself pop star kit. I really that would
Literally.
fly off the shelves.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's why I've been so excited about Chapel Roan's rise. Is it's finally a normal person who
It's the timing, it's happening, it's gonna be
I
my turn
know. And,
soon.
she was I remember my claim to fame is that I DM'd her 3 years ago or something and was like, hey, big fan of your music, and she was like, thanks. Because we had mutual friends at the time. The music industry is very small, and it feels oh, finally, just a normal, and I mean normal person, in that she wasn't, as much as I'm a fan of Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter, they came from being child actors, or a lot of people I love, even Clairo, she comes from she's sort of a nepo baby, even though I'm a huge Clairo fan. So it's very refreshing to kind of see people who come from zero industry connections actually getting their flowers. It's really rare nowadays, honestly.
No, I 100% agree with that. I think it's really special to see like journeys of artists who literally like come from the cornfields of the Midwest.
Yeah.
I just saw her at Hinterlands in Iowa, and I felt like that was such a special experience because I was seeing the Midwest princess in the Midwest.
West. Yeah.
So I absolutely understand that. But I think that's what's so funny of like you're proving, I think it makes you earn the title a little bit more of like you have fought your way to where you are now. And I'm sure every single one of those radio stations in California is regretting not listening to 15-year-old Meg. But you've worked your way up to getting that recognition now. So I think it's all worth it in the end.
I hope so. Also, this is so off topic, but I think we have the exact same
I
glasses.
was gonna
I was
say,
like, where are your glasses from?
oh, that's a really good question. I've had them for a very long time. I'm honestly, I think they're from Amazon.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I
Great
don't know if
minds.
anyone's gonna see this, but if you can include photos or whatever
Yeah.
on the, like, be like, you need to do a side by side of our glasses because they're
This
exactly,
is going to be the clip that goes on social media of just the same glasses, and
no,
I
it's,
love it.
I like that we got the memo.
You're a
Um,
style icon, so I'm really okay with that. I take it as a
Thank
compliment.
you, thanks. But no, I think you're so right. And it's something like I that has been like my biggest struggle through all of it is I think this is just like a classic girl thing is like I'm constantly comparing myself to other women, right? And it's so hard to unlearn that. That's something that especially in music because like you're quite literally being compared and contrasted to everyone all the time. Like you just are. Like you walk into label meetings, the first thing people ask you is like who do you compare yourself to? You'll start talking, they'll be like, well, you know what you should really do is you should really be a little bit more like Olivia Rodrigo. Or you know what you should do? Like, what if you were a little campier like Chappell Roan? Like people are just constantly sort of comparing. You know, to a certain extent it is helpful, like just from like a branding perspective, right? It's like you want to sort of see like in the culture, like where you kind of fit in. Like that is helpful. But, you know, it's like musicians at our core, like we're insecure anyway. You know, it's like that's why we sit and we write songs, is because we like want people to like clap for us. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's very vulnerable and it's yeah, I so it's that's really tricky. And I think something I struggled with a lot is growing up in LA, there was such like a nepotism culture and it was really hard growing up. Like I remember going to school and just like seeing friends of mine get movie roles and being like, the instinct when you're a kid is like, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? Like that was so how I felt, especially because I started trying to be an artist so young. Like I looked up so much to Taylor Swift. I was like a huge Shawn Mendes fan, and I saw all these artists who got famous when they were 17, and that's all I wanted when I was a kid. I remember being like, if I graduate high school without a record deal, like I'm a failure. Like I was like all my songwriting heroes from childhood, you know, from the like 2000s 2010s, they were all like kid stars, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to see like people with industry connections with more money just because LA is such a bubble and it's everywhere, and I grew up thinking that was so normal and that like oh like if you know all the girls I'm going to school with just get these opportunities, then like it must be something wrong with me that I'm not successful yet. I don't have a record deal yet. I'm not getting movie roles or whatever. You know what I mean? And I remember being in therapy, talking to my therapist about it. And she was like, yeah, but like when you do have success, you'll know that it was you, you know? And that's not to say that people with industry connections don't deserve the success they have, because I think there are a lot of very talented Nepo babies. Like, it's just true, you know? But it's something I've struggled with a lot is like, you know, that's why I'm such a Chappell Roan fan, is because I'm like, it's and I think it's something to, I know I'm just sort of rambling and not being loudly coherent, but like it's something to like people in the industry, like we know when something's amiss. Like where I remember like talking to friends of mine who I make music with and being like, oh, you see so and so got that opening slot on the tour. Like there's something like who's their mom? You know what I mean? Like you're like that it doesn't normally happen like that. You know what I mean? And it's yeah, it's just something that we sort of see like on the industry side. We can see like, oh, that doesn't normally happen because it does take over a decade to get where you want to go, you know? Like I said, like I've been releasing music for 10 years now and I still work as a full-time nanny. Like I'm not, you know, like I'm not close to where I want to be yet. But you do hope that, you know, when I have gotten moments of success, I'm like, oh, I did that, you know? And that doesn't mean that I think like it does take such a community too. It's like my mom driving me to those radio stations. If I didn't have supportive parents who were like, what are you doing with this music thing, like I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am today, you know. Or like my sister, she's a costume designer, she's, as we speak, like me and her are getting into an argument over text about like what my costumes should be on tour, you know what I mean, but she's like helping me do them. Or like, yeah, like I've had friends of mine take cover art photos for me because I'm like, I can't afford to pay a photographer for this, like can you just take a flash photo of me? And they're like, okay, you know, like it takes such a community. And at the same time, it is like really rewarding when, you know, like when I got the billboard, I was like, oh shit, this isn't it because, you know, I had any industry connections or anything going into music. Like it's you really fight for the opportunities you get. So it is rewarding in that sense.
Yeah, it's impossible to do it without that community.
Yeah.
But at like that same time, you have to have that like perseverance. And I think they
Yeah.
talk about like you have to get over that initial fear of rejection to get through life as an artist. Like you
Yeah.
cannot let that stop you. But yeah, no, I think having that supportive background, like my best friend is a photographer. I said, will you please take my
Yes.
cover art? Because I can't go into a studio and get that done.
Yeah.
But it also, I think it really helps shape your like your brand. God, I hate that, but it's true.
No, it's
Because
true.
like, because I want to talk about that too. Like, I feel like when I like talking about like your YouTube, your nannying TikTok series is probably one of my favorite. It's on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like every time you post, I was like, what was she doing? What show is she covering for? What she's like nannying the kid? I need to know.
Yeah.
But I think that really emphasizes like who you are as an artist. It's all the different layers because like I know when I see like rhinestones and like the angel halo, like that's you, but at the same time there's so many other levels of like
Yeah.
what goes into your music and you as an artist.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's been really rewarding because, you know, I felt like I finally saw the sort of like fruits of my labor in June when I opened for Baby Queen on tour because I've been touring forever. Like you know, I think I posted the other day on my Instagram story. I found an email from 2015 of me emailing a music venue in LA and being like, my name's Meg Smith. I'm a 15-year-old singer-songwriter. Like, can I play at your venue? So like I've been playing shows forever and especially like sort of like right after the pandemic, like I would say like 2022, I mean the pandemic's still going on, but you know what I mean. Like when things were starting to open up, people were playing shows again. I did a couple tours that were such good experience and I'm so grateful I got to do them. And also they were super tiny. And I remember playing a show where I swear to God there were 7 people there. And it was me and my guitar and I was like, okay. And to be honest, like I'm used to that. Like that to me was the norm. Like me playing these shows since I was a teenager where I remember once I played a show in high school where it was literally me, the sound guy, and my parents. And those were the only people who came, you know? And you just like do it. And that speaking of like resilience under rejection, like that, I don't know if I'm allowed to, can I curse?
Go for it.
Okay. Like, I keep saying shit. I'm sorry. But I was like, shit, this shit fucking sucks. Like, it does. It's really hard to be like, here's this song about my insecurity and how bad I feel about myself. And you're genuinely playing it to an empty room because no one showed up. Like, it sucks. And you just keep doing it and you feel insane because you're like, am I crazy? Like, why am I doing this? You know, I've just played so many of those shows. Like, like hundreds probably. And when I opened up for Baby Queen in June, that was the first tour I did where we were playing full rooms. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is what it feels like. And I'm so glad I played all of those shows to empty rooms because you learn how to be a good performer. Like you learn so much and you also get to fail quietly, which I think is so important. And something that people don't get to do now on social media is like if I was starting from scratch now, like as a teenager posting online, like I don't think I'd build a fan base because people would be like, she's bad. Because I was. But I got to play shows where no one came and like get better. You know what I mean? But that's all to say, when I was playing with Baby Queen, like after the shows, I would hang out at the merch table, just like talk to whoever wanted to talk to me. And I got to meet people who I met one person who's like, I've been following you since your song Cool For You, which was the first single I released in like 2020, like right when the pandemic hit. And I was like, oh my God, there was like someone listening. Like it was so bizarre, but it was so rewarding to like be on stage and like have people be like, oh yeah, like I listen to Jesus Christ in a miniskirt every day on my commute to work. And I was like, wait, what? Like it was it was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, like there are actual people that this is that like what I'm doing. It's like so rewarding finally, because you do it for so long and you just feel crazy. And then, yeah, to have people like singing back lyrics to you, you're like, oh my God, like
Life-changing moment,
life
I think.
changing. Even if it's like, I remember the last show I played in Chicago with Baby Queen, looking into the crowd, and there was a girl there like genuinely screaming the lyrics of Jesus Christ in a miniskirt. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, you get it. Like, it's so, oh my God. It's like, yeah, that's like why you do it.
We're gonna get into that song later because I have a lot of thoughts about that
Oh,
song. As
please.
someone who has a lot of like, I dated a Mormon religious trauma,
Oh,
like
let's get into it.
we'll get into that in a minute. I will get there. That's the song that I found you off of, and I was like, she gets it.
Yeah.
She understands.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the most rewarding part about writing music is if there's at least one person who can
Yeah.
connect with the song and understand and sings it the way you sing it. You're like, this is for you. This is for you alone. This
Yeah.
person alone. It's nobody else's song. It's just yours.
Yeah, totally. Because, obviously, I'm a songwriter. Like, I'm such an emotional, sensitive girl. And, like, when I go to concerts, I cry. Like, even if it's an artist I've never seen before, like, something about being at a concert just, like, makes me, like, speaking of church, like, that to me is church. Like, I grew up going to church. I actually had, like, a very positive religious experience growing up at, like, a very lovely, good church, the way I think religion should be, where it's, like, very
Yeah.
positive and loving.
GCPC, I love you. Sorry, I wasn't trying to shame you.
That being said, like, to me, that always felt like more of a religious experience, like being in a crowd of people, like talking about the Eras tour. Like when I went to the Eras tour, I sobbed the entire time because I was like everything in my life that's happened, like everything, every heartbreak, every date, every show I played, everything has been defined by Taylor Swift songs. I think that's just like girlhood. Like I can tell you every crush I've ever had, I have a Taylor Swift song. You know what I mean? Like I just do. And it was like that was like a religious experience where I was like, I'm hearing these songs. I remember being at the Eras tour during All Too Well, right before the bridge. The girl sitting next to me, we chatted like barely before the show, but she seemed really cute. And during the bridge, she grabbed my hand and we held hands and we like screamed the song together. Like that is what church is for so many people. You know what I mean? It's like it's overwhelming. And like I'm also like I said, I'm such a sensitive person. So like I cry at everything. But like that, I don't know. To think that like there's someone out there that would listen to me sing a song like Joni or something and like really it affects them in that way, like that is it's so therapeutic to write a song and be like, am I crazy? And then put it out and have someone be like, oh my God, I feel that exact same way. You're like, oh my God. Like it's such a bonding experience. It's like, it's unlike anything else. Yeah.
100%. I think the Eras tour and just listening to music in general is just a very therapeutic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I'll have a playlist where I go from Tolerate It to Guitar Center, and then I just, like, die. And that's okay. And I think, because I went to Hosier in May,
Mm,
that was a spiritual experience.
yeah.
That was true. Have we ever seen Jesus and Hosier in the same room? No.
No, you said it.
I mean, from my lips to God's ears. But I think there's such a like a cleansing power, and that's why the pandemic was so traumatic for me, of
Mm,
like not being able to like congregate with people and like not even perform, but just like go to listen to live music.
yeah.
And I also lived in like a podunk beach town. I live in Orlando now, so like I can actually go to concerts. When
Yeah.
they come to Florida, that's fine. Everything's okay. But I think it's such it, and I absolutely agree with you. Like I am a religious person, but there's like nothing more spiritual to me than like communing with people listening to live music.
And that's
It's
also like what church is. Like, I don't know, all I grew up Methodist and my dad's family is Catholic. So I grew up going to church every Sunday. And like I said, like I have a lot of friends with like very traumatic church experiences, and I think the church has done a lot of harm, clearly. At the same time, I grew up going to a great church that I still, even though I'm not religious now, I go back to church just to see my friends. Like it's like family to me. Like it's a very close knit community. I think it's amazing. And also like that's just always what church was to me growing up. It's like you go and you listen to music and you sing. Like that's what Sunday school was. That's just what it was. You can see that now in even like the big mega churches and stuff. It's like people go and they sing like Christian pop songs and they like put their hands in the air. Like that's what we're doing when we're going like when we're listening to Chapel Roan. It's just it's so similar. Yeah.
I was at so she was at Hinterlands and she came out in the nun
I
outfit,
saw that.
and
Ugh.
I look over at my best friend and I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is heaven. I've made it. I've arrived. And no, I absolutely agree with you. Like my hands are up in the air. I'm crying. I'm singing the songs. Like this is church. This is
Yeah.
it. This is all I can ever ask for.
Hmm.
No, that is my favorite thing ever. So I want to talk about like I feel like you are very much like your own brand now. Like when I think of your music, when I think of your visuals, when I think of like everything that comes up for you, it's a very specific brand.
Thank you.
What went into that? What kind of creative processes, like what influences came out of that?
Yeah, I think it's something where, again, I think I was able to fail privately so much growing up as a musician that there was just like so much trial and error. I think I realized very quickly, especially when I was younger, I was constantly compared to Taylor Swift. I have like the blonde curly hair, I played acoustic guitar, and I sang songs about boys. Like that's just what I was doing growing up. And I just quickly was like, how do I distinguish myself? Because as much as that's a compliment, it's, you don't want to be compared to one artist. And so I think I realized very quickly like I needed to find ways to distinguish myself. And also I realized that the artists that I loved had such a specific brand. Like I remember looking at like Casey Musgraves like during Golden Hour, and I was like, it's so clear. Like you hear the music, you see the visual, it just makes so much sense. All of Taylor Swift's eras, obviously. Fucking Katy Perry, like in the Teenage Dream era. Like I just those were the artists that I loved. And, even like Hannah Montana, I was like, I want to be an artist that you can dress up as for Halloween. Like, those are my favorite artists, are the ones that are so specific visually. So, yeah, I went through a lot of trial and error. I think I started getting the swing of it with rom com pop, slowly but surely.
Excellent title.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it just sort of like slowly started to come together. I think what happened was I threw so much stuff out into the ether, and then I just sort of like saw what people responded to and then tried to hone in on it. And like to me, that part was always really fun. As much as it's annoying for an artist to talk about their branding because you're just like, I just want to write songs. I actually love that part of what I do. Like, I think it's really fun to come up with the outfits and the creative direction and all that stuff. And I think the more I did it, the more I was like, oh, I think I'm actually like good at this. And I just sort of started getting more and more specific, I guess. I think because I knew it was the only way to stand out, and I just needed, I needed a thing, And I think it's been really fun over the past, like, since January with Jesus Christ in a Miniskirt to get more and more into that world. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, so I don't know what will have been announced by the time it comes out, but I'm working on a project right now, like a collection of songs, and it's all very specific, and it all is in such a world, and it's been so fun creating that. And it's funny because I think Jesus Christ in a Miniskirt just like really set the tone without me knowing of like what this year was going to look like for me in terms of my brand. And I think so much of it has been me trying things out and then stumbling upon something that like really excites me. Like when I played that Baby Queen show in Chicago and I wore the halo and the angel wings, I was like, oh, like this is kind of cute. I was like, I should keep doing this, you know? So it's been a lot of just like falling into stuff and being like, oh, I like this. I don't know if that answered the question. I don't know. It's been really fun for me. And like now,
100%.
yeah, I've been like I'm flying to LA tonight to film a couple videos, and this is my first time fully like directing videos before. I've worked with the same video team forever, and I've like creative directed a lot, but also creative direction like sounds like a fake job. But you know, like all the sort of like ideas, the storyboarding, the mood boarding, like what it all looks like has mostly always come from me, which I love. And it's been really fun to now like get into the direction of it all. And like, I don't know, it was funny because it wasn't a huge jump from what I was doing before to like actually directing the videos. And like, I've had such a fun time like creating the decks and the storyboards. And, you know, we put together like a script outline for a video we're working on, and working with a script writer to like make it come together. Like it's really cool. It's just sort of like for me, like the songs don't end at the song. Like it the visuals, the photography, the video, what it sounds like live, what it looks like it's all very like a little package to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too because I know one of the interviews you did a while ago, I did my Nardwar research. I was anything
Yeah.
that had Meg Smith in it, I was looking it up. But I noticed an interview you were talking about like the visual component of songs, and I one of my favorite artists in the world is Maggie Rogers, and she talks about like
Yeah.
her synesthesia and how that affects like the way that she creates visuals for albums and things like that. And like, do you have like the movie playing in your head as you're writing songs, and you're like, oh, this is going to look like this, and this is going to be the vibe of this?
Yeah, the first thing I do when I'm writing the song is I'm like, oh, the music video could look like this. Like it's just it's so intertwined for me. And I'm really excited because so often, you know, as independent artists, it's like we have these big ideas, and then we're like, okay, like the budget is $200. How do we make this work? You know, and it ends up being this like very like, you know, much smaller idea because it's what you can get away with. And I'm really excited. These videos that we're doing this later this week, this is the first time where I'm kind of like, we have the budget to like actually do what we've been wanting to do for the first, it's like the idea is coming together. And that's, you know, things get cut and you kind of have to like small like make the scale smaller and whatever, because we're still working with an indie budget. But I'm like, oh, this is like the idea I had in my head is sort of coming together, and I've never really been able to see that happen before in like a full way. You know, it's always like, you know, I'm trying to think of the best example, but yeah, like you always end up having to like lessen the scale and like make it a lot smaller. So I'm really excited to like see like, okay, like these ideas that I had when we wrote, you know, You Fake Your British Accent, like I'm actually going to see what it looks like, you know?
That's awesome. The big focal point of this podcast that I love talking about is the creative process of writing music.
Yeah.
It is my favorite thing to talk about how people's brain works when they write songs. Can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, every song is different for me. I know there's some songwriters where they have like a very clear process that they use for every song. I'm very like analytical. I'm very type A in the way that I write. And so I think that's why I love pop music is there's such a structure. I love a structure. I love a formula. Yeah, but that being said, it is different every time. Oftentimes I actually start with a title. And then we'll work my way back. I love a quirky title. So, you know, for Jesus Christ in a Miniskirt, that was a song where a lot of times when I go into a session, um, I'll have a clear idea of what I want to write that day, of something maybe a lyric I've started or a rough melody or just like a general concept. For Jesus Christ in a mini skirt, I had no idea what I wanted to write. So we just went into the session, just started talking. And I've talked about this a bit before, but for that one, like I came in with a list of like really, it was a bad list of like things, like really niche, bizarre things you would want to do for someone that you were like falling in love with, right? Like it was so dumb. It was like, I want to take away your back pain. I want to buy you sushi. I want to like go to IKEA with you. Like it was just stupid. And we were sort of I was like, this is kind of all I have, but like there's nothing really good here. And one of the ones I had was I want to kill your dad. And that was like a I've dated, I don't know, I think it's just like par for the course dating men, especially, is like they have shitty dads and like they have daddy issues. And I've just dated multiple men where they just had like really bad dads. And so I was like, oh, that's sort of like a funny way of being like, I want to like heal your relationship with your dad. I just want to like kill him and like make it not an issue for you, you know? And I remember my co-writer and producer on that song, Jackson Hoffman, he was like, oh, that's funny. Like, let's keep that. And then we just started, you know, we were just talking. And I think one of the things we started talking about was like, you know, you can't force someone to love you as much as we wish we could sometimes, you know? Like, I think the initial thing I was talking about is, I think this happens in most of my sessions, is I have like 100 bad ideas and I just say all of them because a really bad idea that I have could inspire a really good idea from someone else. So I just like say things. So for that song, I remember being like, yeah, like I could be like a perfect model slash porn star slash like fucking Jesus Christ. Like I could be all of that wrapped into one and you still wouldn't want me. And so we just sort of like played with that for a while and like getting the wording right. And then I think that's when I said like Jesus Christ in a mini skirt. And that was an idea I thought was bad. I was like, that's a bad way of saying that. And then Andy and Jackson, who I wrote the song with, were like, no, that's actually cool. I was like, okay. I'm very easily persuaded by others. Like I need that validation in the writing room. Like this is a horrible idea, but what if it was this? And
That's
they
so
thought,
fair though. That's a very like exposed format. Like songwriting is so
oh,
exposing your
totally.
inner soul. If you don't tell me it's good, then like this whole thing could go to shit.
Yeah. Well, because it's like I feel like songwriters always joke when you're like, guys, like, what about this? And then everyone's like, maybe. And then you keep going, you're like, oh, so it was a horrible idea.
Cool.
But you never know because like Jesus Christ in a miniskirt, I was like, this is fucking ridiculous and like sounds bad. And they were like, no, we're actually into it. And I was like, actually, it is a good idea. Like you never know until you sort of like put it out into the universe and see what happens. So that was Jesus Christ in a miniskirt. We started with the lyric, I want to kill your dad, and I could be Jesus Christ in a miniskirt and you'd still want her. And then we worked backwards from there. For Emotional Affair, that was a session where I came in and I had that title and I had a couple random lyrics, like something like, I think the initial lyric I had was something like if you kiss her, it'd be even worse. Like, you know, or no, what was, I don't know. It was something like it doesn't matter if you don't even kiss her. Like, you know, just you liking her is worse. Or and it was bad, you know. And I had the lyric, or I just had Emotional Affair written down, and then we just sort of like talked about it for a while. And that one we started with the chorus again and worked our way backwards. Guitar Center, I wrote. That's one of the few songs that I've released where I wrote it entirely by myself, and then went to my friend Will and was like, is this good? And he was like, yeah. And then he helped me tweak a couple lyrics and that was that. And that was a song where again I started with the chorus. I just like this idea of like, you must be insane for loving me. And so like I hope you never sort of like become sane, you know, like I just hope you stay crazy forever. But yeah, a lot of them start with a title. A lot of them start with just like a general concept of something I think is interesting. All of them have like pieces of my life in them, and then all of them have pieces that I think just make like a really good story. Some are more autobiographical than others, and I just have a lot of fun. Like for me, the fun in it is like it's like a puzzle. It's like putting all the pieces together and like, you know, seeing what fits best.
I love that. And I think it's such like a personal process too. I know like one of the other artists I interviewed, she was like, it has to be in this like notebook that she's been writing in for
Right.
like a decade now. Me, I'm like, where's my voice memo app? Something just came. I
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, whatever happens.
yeah.
I know
Mm-hmm.
one of my friends has a collection of napkins that she just like randomly gets ideas and writes them down and then puts them in a box. I'm like,
Yeah,
teach
fair
their own.
enough. Yeah,
Like, you do you, Buttercup.
yeah, totally. I think my favorite songwriters to work with have sort of similar writing processes to me, where I work with my friend Will daily, like constantly, and he produced all of Rom-Com Pop with me, and he did Emotional Affair, he did British Accent. And I think a lot of, with Will especially, because we're so close, we've been working together for so long, is we start our sessions just like talking about our lives. And especially because he lives in LA, I go back home to LA a lot. But so when we see each other, the first thing we do is like, oh, like what's been going on? We just start talking, and because we're like siblings at this point, it's like we're so candid with each other. So we'll start shit talking people we know, like we're what I mean. They all he's been in a relationship forever, so I'll be like, oh, like how's M? Like how are you guys doing? We'll like start talking about them and what's going on in their lives, and like that's really, and then we'll kind of go from there and then be like, oh, wait, that was really cool what you just said. Like, let's write that down, Like my friend Taylor Foley, who I work with a ton, she's similar to me, where we'll just sort of be like, what's the weirdest word we can fit in to this lyric? You know what I mean? Like, we worked on a song called Poltergeist together. It was the first song we ever wrote. And the goal of the song was like, just what's the most bizarre lyric we can get away with? And it was so fun, because that, I love that. Like Jesus Christ in a mini skirt, like cross my heart, I hope you die. I'm like, it's been really fun as a writer to just sort of like keep pushing, like what's the weirdest thing I can say and have it still feel authentic to me and like make a bit of sense.
Yeah.
Like we have this lyric in Poltergeist, which is like, uh, going on hinge dates in the apocalypse. I've got a cousin who thinks that I'm a communist. Like we were just like, what's the weirdest rhyme we can come up with? And I love that too. Like that's where the sort of creative side comes in. It's like, what can we get away with, like with British accent. I was like, how many stupid British slang words can we fit into the song, you know what I mean? Like that's always so fun for me too.
And I think that really plays into like the fun aspect of like what goes into your artistry. Because I know I was scrolling through your discography and like every title was like making me smile. Even the ones that are like inherently like will break your heart. Like the But I Miss You Too Much is such like a
Yeah,
fun song,
thank
even
you.
though like the message maybe isn't that fun,
Yeah.
but like that's what it brings joy into even like the not fun times. And I think that's so special.
Yeah, I think like I don't know, almost like a movie or a play or something. It's like if you're talking about something serious, like I think you also need moments of levity, because like that is, it's like just how we operate as people. Is like when I'm my most depressed, I'm like also trying to make people laugh. You know what I mean? It's like it's how I cope, is like crying and then making a joke about myself. You know what I mean? Like it's just how at
100%.
least how I operate. I think so many of us do. Like yeah, Jesus Christ in a miniskirt. It's like you read the lyrics, they're like really depressing. Like it's like there's so much insecurity built into those lyrics. Like you're basically saying to someone like, I'll be whatever you want. Tell me what you need. And that's not a powerful statement. There's no sort of confidence in that. And yet it's like we're dancing. You know what I mean? Like it's fun.
I'm jamming out here.
Yeah,
Depressed
exactly.
on the inside, but I'm festive on the outside. No, I think that's the best kind of like I am a pop girly to
Yeah.
my core. I have a playlist that's literally called Crying But Groovy.
Yeah.
And like that is my favorite kind of music. If you're
Me
not
too.
saying the most depressing shit, but with a poppy ass synth beat back there,
Yeah.
then I don't
That's
want it.
why I love that new Olivia O'Brien song, the but I want you so bad. I'm
Out of
like,
your league, yes.
good. I'm like, yes, like he's a piece of shit. Let's dance. Like it's great.
Let's go. Love that. No, I'm a really big Maud Latour fan.
Her new album's so good.
Oh my gosh, like Cursed Romantics is one of my faves
It's
because
great.
it's literally like we are awful together. We are never going to make it, but like I just love you so much. But when
Yeah.
that beat hits, it hits.
Yeah, it's so good.
So my one of my favorite segments is behind the track. We're gonna talk about the new little section of music you just put out and kind of sum up the other two EPs.
Yeah.
So I like to know all the tea, all the drama, but this is up to your comfort level, how much you want to share. I'm not gonna like pry into you, but I want to talk about, and you touched on it a little bit, but I want to talk about some of these tracks, like what went into it, what
Yeah.
came out of it. So I want to start with the newest addition, your Brooke Schofield-esque
Oh my God.
single, "You
Insane.
Fake Your British Accent."
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about it. Yeah, that was so again, like I wrote that with my friend Will Daly and another friend Julia Campbell. It was my our first time working with Julia. And it started because I was like, Will, I need to update you on some tea because basically there's this guy, you know, when someone just like keeps popping up and you're like, leave me alone. Like, I have not thought about you in forever. And it was probably like within the last 6 months, I joined a book club. And a couple people in the book club worked in the same industry as this guy. But it's also like, we live in New York. Like, you know, like, what are the odds? So I just like kept having run ins with people who knew this guy and like at my book club. And I remember a friend of mine being like, oh my God, like so and so in this book club, like she knows of you because her coworker used to date you. And I was like, that's so random and weird. And he was telling his coworkers how crazy I was. And he was like, yeah, like she keeps releasing songs about me. I have not released a song about this man. And he was going around telling people certain songs were about him that had already been released before we met. And I was like, we both know these songs aren't about you. But it's like he needed to like, I don't know, whatever. And it just was to the point where I was like, leave me the fuck like this is ridiculous, you know? You keep popping up everywhere and I it's like now I have to keep talking about it even though like I genuinely do not care about you. So I was just like literally updating Will because yeah, I mean I had dated this guy super briefly. Like it was like a very short-lived little heartbreak when he broke up with me. And just randomly, like I like the story is true. Like I matched with a girl on Bumble BFF and she was like, hey, like this is super weird, but like I think you dated my old roommate. And I was like, that's crazy. New York is a small town. It's crazy. And we started talking and she like hates him. She was like, oh, he's like a piece of shit. Like he's a horrible person. Also, he fucking fix his accent. And I was like, T. And it just like it kept sort of spiraling where I would just, yeah, like run into people and they'd be like, oh, Meg, like you dated so and so. And I'm like, yeah, like we dated for 3 months in like 2022. Like leave me alone. You know, it's like not even like 2021. Anyway. And it was just, I was like, this is too funny of a story to not. And also, I was like, you want a song about you? I'll write a song about you. Like, I'll give you what you want, babe. You know, if you're like so desperate for the attention, I'll give it to you. Anyway, that was a really fun song to write. And it was also a song that like went through many, many versions because we were like, we want to tell the story. We think it's so funny. What's the best way to do it? You know? And we started with I think we started with the first verse, the I found a witch posted online and like coming up with all of that initially I think was like a pre-chorus, and then the second verse we initially had as our first verse, and then it just like it went through so many iterations of sort of like moving stuff around. Yeah, I don't know. It was like such a fun. We just were like laughing the whole time we were writing it. And those are probably my favorite songs. Like same with Jesus Christ and Mini Skirts. Like we were writing the song, we just couldn't stop laughing. We're like, this is so funny. Like our favorite thing in the world was in the chorus, the ha 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 hypocrite. That was like I'm a big alliteration girl. I need alliteration in all my songs. It's my favorite thing ever. And so we were like, okay, like we want to call him a hypocrite. And so we were trying to think of another word that starts with H. We're like a handsome hypocrite. No, a hot, you know what I mean? And we were just like thinking about it. And because we were going over it, we were like, ha, 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 hypocrite. And then we were like, oh my God, let's just do ha, 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 hypocrite. And that was just through us like not being able to come up with a different word. But it's so funny. I love it. It's like my favorite part of the song.
No, I think when I DM'd you, that's the part that I used just because it stuck to me so bad. And then the no bloody accident, I loved.
Thank you. Thanks. That was really fun. It's
According
such
that I
a
tell you because it's funny.
thing that like men will like exaggerate their British accents because they think it's attractive. And it is an epidemic.
Very much so.
And it was time one of us said something. So I was glad I could finally put it to rest.
No, thank you for putting the rumors to rest. I'm
Yeah.
so over it. Unless you are freshly off of that boat, I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Agreed.
Okay, this one again, one of my absolute like. I'm gonna say they're all my favorites because they're all my favorites. Okay, they're all of them. I love them all. We need to talk about Emotional Affair.
We
I
do.
want to. I also want to talk about the music video too because it's adorable and I love it so much.
Oh, thank you.
But I need to know because it's my fave. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was yeah, again, like what I said, it was sort of like that was a song that I think it didn't come from one experience. And it was funny in the comments because I remember I like posted a video where I had, for the cover art, I had a bunch of kisses on my face. And for like a video we just had the makeup artist, Georgia. She just like kissed me. And it was funny because then I posted a video like a couple weeks after where I said like the song was about a man. Everyone was like, "Wait, what? Like this is like my lesbian bop." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." Like it's like I'm bi, like, and also like that was a song too where it was pieces of a bunch of different relationships where I think I sort of got into this habit when I really first started dating, like sort of in college, where I ended up dating a lot of people who were really fresh out of relationships and definitely still had feelings for their ex. And I just got into this habit of feeling like I was a placeholder for something else. And guy for that British accent is about, I remember one of the things he told me when we broke up is I remember telling him like, you made me feel like I was a placeholder till something better came along and that you were just waiting for someone else. And I remember him being like, well, yeah. And I was like, okay, like that, yeah. So he deserves that song. He was a horrible, horrible person. And that was that period of my life too, especially like during college and right after. I just was like, I just always felt like second best to something. And a lot of times it was someone's ex or a friend that someone had. I remember one of the first guys I ever really dated being like, yeah, like my best friend, like Sophie, like we always said, like if we're single in like 10 years, we'll just get married. Ha ha ha. And I was like, we're dating. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I'm like, what is that supposed to make me feel? It's super bizarre. And so, yeah, it was a song where I felt like I was able to have a lot of fun with it because I was looking kind of like far into my past and wasn't in the heat of it, which meant I could just like have a lot of fun, which I really liked. And that again was another song where it was me, Will, Taylor, and our friend Joe, and we were just like laughing the whole time. We were like, this is so silly. And we had such a fun time with those melodies. Like, that's also been one that's been really, really fun to play live because there's something about that chorus that's just like you want to scream it. It's like so therapeutic. Yeah.
Can't wait. I think we need to compile a short list of signs that your partner is in an emotional affair. I think we need like a
Oh my
watch
God.
list, a
I
warning.
agree.
I think he's hanging out with a specific person way too close for comfort. I know that's obvious, but it's some people
Yeah.
need to get it. People need to understand it.
No, really. It's really bizarre because also I think the thing that's so hard about it is you feel crazy for being like, hey, what's going on there? And they're like, well, I don't even like her like that. We're just really good friends. And it's hard too because like I actually think it's a red flag if men don't have female friendships. Like to me that's really bizarre because I'm sort of like, oh, so you only see women if you want to fuck them? Like
Oh
what do
my
you
god.
mean you don't like look at them as people? Like that's really weird to me. And then on the flip side of it, it's like if they have a crush on their friend, you feel crazy because you're like, well, I like that you have female friends and that's cool, but also this feels weird. It's a hard line.
It is because I'm like, oh, either women do not trust you, and so they do
Yeah.
not want to be around you,
Hmm.
or you just treat them like shit. It's a
Yeah.
very thin margin of like people I've met, like my guy best friend. I'm like, it was a very short margin of like, I was like, I will never date you. I'm gonna be so clear with you right
Yes.
now. We will never have any form of contact outside of our friendship. Understood? Cool? Get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Solid.
Because men, they don't, I think it's, they have such a harder time. I think it's just the way like men are conditioned to like just have a hard time being friends with women. And that being said, like I do have a lot of like really great male friends who I think the world of, but especially but even that I'm sort of like, you're crazy. Like I feel bad for any girl that has to date you. Like you got some shit you need to work through. Like and that's the thing is I'll tell them. And I think like yeah, like I really good friends of mine where they'll talk about like dates they've been on and I was like, you acted like a crazy person. Like I need you to know that you shouldn't do that, you know?
You were actually awful. You
No,
should apologize to
exactly. But
her.
they'll be like, yeah, but then I just like ghosted her. And I'm like, no, you idiot. Like, anyway, they need help.
I think it's really funny. I am very much like Emotional Affair is my bi pride anthem. I love it.
Uh,
I'm like, it goes both ways. I'm like, men suck, women suck, everybody sucks, but at least we
yes.
all suck equally.
We all that's the thing about bisexuality is you're sort of like, oh, everyone's hard to date. Like it's I'm the problem. Like it's not that like I needed to date a different gender. It's that like I am struggling personally. It doesn't
It's
matter who
literally everyone sucks. It
Yeah.
is me, but it's
Yeah. No, seriously. Seriously.
no. Okay, I'm gonna say every single one is my favorite. I don't even care. I don't even care. You know what? I'm officially saying it now. Every single one is my favorite. Do you like me? I was saying the Quentin Tarantino line over and over and over again the other day, and I had to play the song for my friend just so she could understand what I was referencing.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Yes. Oh my God. So that was a song again where I knew I needed to write something from that perspective because as a musician, every single show I had played for a really long time after the show, some random guy would come up to me and start giving me unsolicited music advice, bad unsolicited music advice. I think there is this thing that happens sometimes where, especially men, but also just like sometimes industry people in general, they will speak to me as if they think every good idea I had was an accident, you know? And I'm like, no, I'm actually like, I think this stuff through, like the creative, like, and I think other female artists, like, we can clock it in each other. We're like, oh, she's not just sitting writing songs, like, she's smart, you know what I mean? Like, she is really thinking her shit through, you know? And I had just, it kind of came to this boiling point where I played a show at like Soho House, like an acoustic show. And I had some guy come up to me. And also, like, I've been in the music industry for so long that I have like a pretty good, like, bullshit, reader. This guy comes up to me. He's like, yeah, so like I'm starting this record label. And I could just tell the way he was speaking about it. I was like, no, you're not. Like, you think you're starting a record label, but I can tell by the way you're speaking about it, like you don't have any industry experience, you know? And so he's talking about it and he goes, you know what you really need to do? You need to be less Taylor Swift and more Britney Spears. And I was like, first of all, did I fucking ask? Second of all, who are you? I remember looking him up on Instagram because he was like, here, like follow me on Instagram. Like, I'll give you some more info about the label. And you can't be like, no, in the moment. You're like, yeah, sure, okay. So I like follow him on Instagram. We have no mutual friends. And I'm like, you don't know anyone in the music industry. Like, you know what I mean? You could just like tell from their Instagram. I'm like, you're just some guy. And this always happens where it's like you'll get cornered by some guy and they'll be like, so have you ever thought about, posting on TikTok? And you're like, what are we like? Shut up. It's so infuriating. And I remember leaving that show and just being pissed. I had one guy at a show corner me and talk to me for 20 minutes about what I really needed to do was get a bunch of vinyl made and sell vinyl. And that's what was missing. And I was like, huh? Also,
You know
like,
what that cost?
no, exactly. I was like, that would cost like thousands of dollars. Like making vinyl is very expensive. And like what? It was so bizarre. And you can't just be like, you know what? Actually, like, I know more than you, but thank you so much, you know? Because, like, I've learned through label meetings, all this stuff, years of experience. Like, do I know everything about the music industry? No. Am I a perfect songwriter? No. But we gain knowledge. You know, we put in our 10,000 hours. Like, I know how the music industry works. Like, I have a degree, you know, like not only do I have a degree, like I've been doing this for so long, you know? So like when some guy comes up to me and just like, well, have you ever thought about doing this? It's like, actually, yes, I have, and it's a bad idea. And here's why. Like, you can't say that because the other thing is like, as women, I was once in a situation where some guy came up to me at a show and started shit talking my merch. And I was just like, haha, like whatever. And I kind of wasn't giving him the time of day because he was being rude. And it got to the point where he started like threatening me and my friend at this show. And he was clearly like on drugs, like genuinely. And that's the thing as women, is it's like if I don't sit there and smile and pretend to be interested in what you're saying, like there is a point where like it could genuinely get violent for me. And there was a point where it almost did, where I was over it and I was like, haha, yeah, dude, whatever. And he literally, like, I was with my friend, he started being like very homophobic. Like it was just like very misogynistic. And I was like, this is just another reason why I have to sit there and fucking smile because you have to like protect your safety, you know? And I was at my boiling point. And I went into the session with my friend Alex. It was our first time ever working together. And I was like, I really need to write a song from the perspective of like who these men think I am. And so much of it was about men in the music industry. And I'm sure it's so applicable across just like all jobs. And then also like I think it's canon. Like when I was 22, I dated a couple 30-year-olds. Okay, we all go through it, and then you realize it was a horrible mistake, and then you mature. Where, you know, I would date like failing artists in their 30s and be like, oh my God, like I'm so mature. And they were just like bad artists and they had no drive. And you sit there and you give these men the time of day because you think it's what you're supposed to do. And it's frustrating. And that was like very therapeutic to write. And even more so to sing that song live. Girl, that scream at the bridge, like it heals something in me. Like there's something so therapeutic about getting up on a stage and just screaming.
I can absolutely imagine that moment. I always say this is the song for guys who played Hey There Delilah on acoustic
Oh my
guitars in the middle of
God.
a party. Someone needs to play them this song specifically.
The amount of men where, and I'm sure you've had a similar thing where they'll be like, oh, you're a musician? Like, I make music too. And I want to be like, actually, no, you don't. You know how to play Wonderwall. Like, congratulations. Like,
I'm
I'm a
like, you make
professional
beats on
musician.
SoundCloud. Good for
Literally,
you.
I'm like that does not a musician make, babe. Like we are doing different things. Like, and it's, you know, it's hard to talk about it without as a woman feeling like, oh wow, I have such a big ego, you know? And like, but at the same time, I'm like, I have been releasing music for so long. And like I said, that doesn't mean I'm a perfect, like I have a lot of room for growth. We all do. And at the same time, it's really insulting when you talk to these men and they talk to you like you're a child. Like it's very patronizing. And all you want to do is say, thanks so much. I know more than you, and walk away. But you can't. You have to sit there and smile. And it's infuriating. I just was like, I have to scream. Like, I have to scream. Like, it's crazy.
No, girl. I'm getting my bachelor's in entertainment management.
Nice.
Yay!
Yay.
And I had a guy in. I was like doing an assignment for class, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do outside of like being in school?" And I was like, "Oh, I do this, I do this," and like I have my own podcast. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. And this guy, my fucking class forum, is like replying to my discussion post, being like, "Actually, like you should be doing it like this," and like I'm about, and I'm gonna kill you. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually gonna come to your house, bang on your door, and cross my heart you right now. I'm gonna
Yes.
do it. And like I laughed so hard because I'm like, I've been doing this. Like I know, and again, it's like the genuflect. Like I know I'm not perfect. I know I have a lot of room to
Yeah.
grow. But like, did you work in a radio station for? Have you been
Mhm.
getting your degree and doing all this and like taking the courses and like I got my Adobe certification. Do you?
But
Just
that's the
like
thing where it's like, there's, it's, what infuriates me is the assumption that when I'm good at something, it's because I'm good at it accidentally. And I'll be in meetings where I was in a meeting the other day where someone was like, wow, like, I really love how I don't, you probably didn't mean to do this, but like in British accent, like it's kind of giving Princess Diaries. Like, that's so cool. And I was like, yeah, that was the fucking point. Like, congratulations, you found it. Like, and it's not even like, that's not even deep. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I put on sunglasses and a tiara and I was like, oh, it's giving Princess Diaries. Like, it's, it
Your
really,
media literacy, 10 out of 10.
no, because it's like, this is, if I didn't care, I wouldn't still be here. I work 50 hours a week as a nanny and do all of this music. Like, I basically have two jobs. Like, I dedicate myself to this, as I'm sure you do to your work too. It's not easy. Like, I have been rejected by, at this point, tons of record labels. Like, probably like up to like 40 record labels have rejected me. Like, if this was an accident and I got where I was because I fell into it, like, I would stop by now. It's too hard. You know what I mean? Like, we're smart people, Like, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy,
Yeah.
girl.
100%. I'm like, I have a brain that is cognizant. It works
Yeah.
exactly the same way yours does. Maybe a little better.
Yeah.
But like
No,
it's
literally.
functioning. And I absolutely agree with that. I think it's very infuriating as like a woman working in the music industry. Like I tell somebody, I'm like, oh, I want to go into artist relations, and they're like, honey, and I'm like, leave, go,
Yeah.
get out of here. Yeah, I could go on for years. I could go on for years. I really could.
I know. Me too.
And I hate that that is a canon event of being a woman.
It is.
All right, I know we touched on Jesus Christ in a miniskirt a bit. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to fill in the gaps of this song?
That's a good question. Honestly, no.
No, 100%.
What's done is done. What's said is said. I think like the evangelicals who are mad at it, like, stay mad, babe. It was very fun for me because when I posted, well, I got the song Blessed by a Priest, which
I know, and I love it.
that was crazy. I was so nervous. And made a lot of very religious people very angry at me. Um, And what was wonderful about that is that my childhood pastor was in the comments defending me, like pulling up Bible verses about like abortion. It was crazy. It was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
She was like, I got you, girl. Like, she was out there like responding to people being like, well, actually, and I was like, yes, like, get them. It was, I don't know, it's really interesting because I think like, I don't know, I didn't go into the project I'm working on now being like, I want to use a lot of religious imagery. Like, that was not the intention. And then I looked back on my collection of songs for this project and I was like, oh, there's actually like a lot of these songs use religion as a metaphor for different things. Like Jesus Christ in a Miniskirt, obviously, like I said, I mentioned a song called Poltergeist. That's going to be on the project that there's like little references to God, even just the word poltergeist, like references to God, and it's none of it is it's all metaphorical. I don't know, that was so funny about Jesus Christ in a miniskirt is people were like, that is blasphemy. I was like, first of all, like, blasphemy is made up. Like, you've just decided something is upsetting to you, like that whole, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's a social construct, but like, if it offends you, it offends you. You're allowed to get offended. It's your truth. You know what I mean? I'm also allowed to say it. Also, it's a metaphor. I could be Jesus. Like, people were like, how dare you call yourself Jesus? I'm like, I actually didn't. I could be. Could. Metaphor, babe.
Keywords here, people.
Keywords here. Yeah, it was wild. Same with, I wrote a song called Cupid's on Cocaine that has like a lot of angel imagery that was really fun to write. Not to give too much away, but I do have a song called Blasphemy that I've been working on that like I really love and is really fun. And yeah, it's been really fun to play with that because it was, again, like, it was almost similar to rom-com pop where I wrote a collection of songs not having any intention behind the sort of cohesion of all of them, and then I looked back and I was like, oh, there's a theme here that I didn't even realize I was doing. And that has been really fun for me with this new project too, is to look back and be like, oh wow, I actually like relied on religious imagery a lot for a lot of the metaphors I was using and a lot of the explaining I was doing, and not in every song but in a lot of them. And it was fun to put those pieces together.
I think we as a culture need to bring back religious allegory. Like, let's not pretend you didn't blast Take Me to Church in your car.
No,
Let's not
exactly.
pretend.
That was really interesting to me because, like I said, like I grew up going to church. If I, a lot of my family is very religious. Like my mom is more religious than I am. Like my whole dad's side of the family is Catholic and goes to mass every Sunday. Like nothing but I have nothing but good personal experiences with church. And it was interesting to me how quickly people got offended by it, especially because I was like, the last thing I would want to do is like offend my family and have them be upset with me. And like both of my parents were sort of like, it's a metaphor. Like, why is everyone getting so upset? And I was like, I know. Like I said, my childhood pastor, I remember going to church and talking to one of my good friends. He used to be like one of our youth counselors at youth group, you know? And I was talking to him and I was like, yeah, like a bunch of like really religious people are angry at me online. And he was like, wait, what? And we were talking about it at church. My church let me film the acoustic version of Jesus Christ in a Miniskirt. We filmed at my childhood church, you know? Like I've had nothing but support from, you know, my family and the church that I grew up going to. So it was really interesting to see like how offended people get and how angry they get. Yeah.
People these days.
People these days, so sensitive.
I laugh so hard. Like, I grew up very religious. Like, my whole family, like,
Yeah.
they are at church every Sunday. We have our row, and like that is just how it is. But I laugh. So I think
Ah!
you're good. I think you're okay.
Well, that, you know, that was the thing is I was like, I remember, yeah, like showing it to my family and my mom, you know, my parents are in their 70s and my mom, you know, goes to church every Sunday and she's like, I like it. I was like, thanks, you know? Like, who cares? She's more offended when I use the word fuck in my songs than she is if I
Real.
like, yeah, she's like, Meg, that's too far. And I'm like, okay, mom.
Nah, I just tell them people, I take your streams. Please continue.
Yeah, I don't know. It was been really interesting. Because I don't know, even a really close friend of mine is Catholic and still goes to church every Sunday and um she was one of the main people I talked to when I was planning out this project. Just as like, okay, like here are my ideas. There's a lot of religious imagery, and she helped me come up with a lot of the stuff that we talked about. And she's very religious, and she was like, "No, it's like a great metaphor." And I was like, "Yeah, I know it's a good metaphor." Like she was the one who came up with. I was talking to her about, you know, oh, I wish I could call myself like the patron saint of something, and my friend Nancy I'm talking about, she's a writer. She's like so smart. She works at the Atlantic and she was like, "Oh, like you're the patron saint of pop." And I was like, "You're a genius. Like I love you." And she's like my most religious friend, you know? Like it I don't know, it's interesting to see, you know, people who in my life who are religious, believe in God, go to church every Sunday, are like nothing but supportive, and then a bunch of people online. What was interesting to me was the people who got offended who were like, I'm not religious, but this is taking it too far. And I was like, wait, what? Who was this for? It was really interesting.
I'm not the one your fight is with. So sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't know, take it up with someone else. I don't have an issue.
Maybe you should go to church. Maybe you need it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Live
Yeah,
your truth,
exactly.
man. Live your truth.
Crazy town.
So I can't talk about the entire discography as much as I want to, because like I could sit here and let you talk about Guitar Center and Joni for hours, because those are also my favorites. I don't care. They can all be.
I love to ramble.
I love it. So you have two EPs. You have Rom-Com Pop and American in Paris.
Yeah.
Can you give me a like okay, I've tried to explain this before and it was really bad and it's my fault. So can you like define each of them in like either a color, a character, like what sums them all up in one thing? I know that's hard, but that's what I got.
Totally. Yes. Okay. I think rom-com pop is like, let me know if this makes sense. Rom-com pop is like a blue, sparkly, like thin scarf.
I love it. You
You know
took it
what
and
I
ran with it. And, thank you for getting that. Yes.
like? It's like you throw it on and you're like, oh God, and like it's like 2004, you know? It's 2004 and you're wearing your sparkly like skinny scarf and
Yeah.
you're about to go on a date. Like that's what it is. That whole project was me falling in love for the first time and just wanting, like when you're falling in love, like I was listening to was like Fearless by Taylor Swift on repeat, and I was like, this is life. Like I'm never gonna die, I was just like in it, and I think that's what it sounds like sonically, and I love those songs so much. American in Paris is funny because I just feel like I think I was so honestly like lost sonically. It's all over the map. I had no idea what I was doing. I think you can tell like just the headspace I was in as I was in a very confused, I don't know who I am. I was traveling a bunch. I like studied abroad in London, and then I was back and forth with New York and LA, and then I was in Texas for the pandemic randomly, and like I was just like I wasn't settled anywhere. I wasn't grounded really at all. And I think you can really hear that. I think there's a lot of I'm trying to think of what the thing would be. I think it's that's tough. I think it's a lot of like faux confidence with a lot of vulnerability. I know that's not as specific, but
No,
I
I love
think,
it.
it's like Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die was on that project. And then at the same time, American in Paris, that song is just like me being insecure, like in Paris alone and being like, I should be happy because I'm in Paris, but I'm like so scared and I'm like 20 and I don't know what is going on and I have no money. So it's I don't know. I'm a Gemini. So it's like it's both sides of me.
I laughed because I said American in Paris is Carrie, the Sex and the City finale. Just like literally like wandering around Paris, like, guess this is
That,
it.
oh my God, that's totally what it is. It's the last episode of Sex in the City before Big comes and she's completely alone and she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing in Paris. Like that is what I was doing, is I was so insecure and terrified. And also being like, cross my heart, I hope you die. Like I was like, can I be her? Like, is she who I am? I was just like, I was trying a lot of things on, I think. And I didn't know, wasn't comfortable in my skin at all. And I think you can hear that, like you just vocally, like my vocals are shakier. I was nervous, which I think was just that period of my life. Yeah.
I think it represents your growth. It's like not something to
Yeah.
be. I'd be very proud of it. Of like, Cross Your Heart is a banger.
Thank
Like,
you. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I was doing it all myself. I think when I released American in Paris, like I had no team, I had no managers. I was nannying and finishing school, and I genuinely had no idea what I was doing. And at the same time, like my most popular song came out of that. And so I've like, it's like you listen back to old songs and you're like, I just want to give her a hug and tell her she can relax. Like just relax. Like you're going to be, and it's so easy to look back and say that, but yeah, I don't know. I was really like in all parts of my life just like finding my style and like figuring out like what felt good to me. Um and I think rom-com pop was where I kind of started to get into the swing of it. Yeah.
I laugh because one of my friends sent me like the EP of rom com pop because I am a self proclaimed rom com connoisseur. And so she saw it and she was like, "This is for you," and it ended
Yeah.
up being such a gift. I was like, thank you so much. I will take it and run with it. But no,
Yeah.
I think that is perfect. I think that is also very representative of like where I'm at right now because like I'm like in my senior year of college and like getting
Yes.
trying to like figure things out and like working on like my first big project of like I have no idea what is gonna happen. I have
Yeah.
no clue what this is gonna be, but I'm gonna try and see what I'm just gonna like let it go and see what
Yeah. Well,
happens.
I think it's interesting, especially coming out of school where you study music. You see the amount of people who go into school wanting to be an artist, and by the end of school who actually still trying, because it really breaks you down. Like it's not easy. I've had people to my face in meetings be like, I don't know, you're just not very original. And you're like, okay, thanks. Like you just, you have those men at those gigs who just like talk your ear off for no reason. And yeah, like I've talked about this a bit, but like when in January, when I released Jesus Christ in a Miniskirt and I got the billboard and there was all this stuff happening at once, it was the first time I started having meetings with like major record labels. And I think it's to a certain extent canon for musicians. You have this period of like, oh my God, it's working, you know? And I met with all the labels. I got offered a deal and then everything dropped. Everything fell apart. And you look back and you realize it's very much for the best. I think I was talking to someone the other day about, I remember when all that was happening. I don't know if I'm allowed to, I don't care, who cares? Like, Island reached out to me and we're like, let's set up a meeting. And I was like, Island Records had always been my, like, since I was a little kid, I was like, if I get signed to Island, like, that's my dream. And then they ghosted me and they never set up a meeting. And it was heartbreaking, you know? And now I look back and I'm like, right now, Island has Sabrina Carpenter and Chapel Roan, and they're dropping artists because they have the biggest artists right now. So if I had gotten signed, I would just be shelved. I wouldn't release any music. You know, it wouldn't have worked for me. So little things like that. Like, yeah, I remember like fully being offered a deal on paper. We were negotiating the terms and about to sign it, and then they said, "Never mind, we're pulling out." And yeah, it's a really hard one label where the head of the label, they gave us deal terms. We started talking through what the numbers would look like. The head of the label during a meeting pulled me into a hug and was like, "I love you. Like, I think you're amazing and I can't wait to work with you." And then a week later, they called and said, "Her music's just not the right fit." And I was like, my music hasn't changed since the 4 other meetings, you know? And it really, it tears you down because I think so many people in the industry don't realize like they have the power to change your life and they overpromise constantly. And that's why many people quit. I have had so many moments where I was like, I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm over. And because it's so hard and it's so expensive. Like, being candid, like, when I'm going on these tours, like I'll be spending I think around $20,000 to go on tour. And I work as a nanny. Like, that's why I work so much, is I'm saving up money to do it. Like, this shit is not easy. And I'm saying, like, I'm spending $20,000, like the whole tour, I'm sleeping on friends' floors on air mattresses. Like, it's not luxurious. Like, it's gonna be so much fun. And I'm really excited to even have the opportunity to do it. And I'm so grateful for that. And at the same time, like, it's really hard. You have people all the time, you know, say they love, like, literally tell you they love you. It's like dating. It's like people tell you they love you and then you never hear from them again. And you're like, what's wrong with me? You know?
Yeah, you're having emotional affairs with record labels.
Literally, where I can't even tell you the amount of sessions I went into where, like, post record label meeting where I'd be like crying, I'd be like, I'm sorry guys, like, I don't know what we can write a song about today. Like, I'm just too, you know, it's really hard. And then, you know, it's like you open up your phone and then you have like some evangelical person telling you're to kill yourself because you like wrote Jesus Christ in a miniskirt. Like, it's crazy out here. Like, it really is.
Oh, it needs some incense, cleanse
Really,
everything.
it's hard. And that's, you know, it's like we started this talking about like how rewarding it all is, like playing the live shows, and like it is. Like, it's all true. And it's also like so hard.
And there has to be a balance. You couldn't keep doing this if it wasn't rewarding. But like, and it's slightly selfish. I started this podcast to talk to like rising artists about like what your experience is, because like I want to go and work in the industry and I don't want to contribute to what is happening. Like, every conversation that I have is like, it is impossible to get a meeting. It is impossible to have somebody listen to me and hear what I'm saying, of like, because it is your vision. It is your artistry. It is your music. You have the right to do with it what you want to do.
Yeah.
But every time you go into these meetings, and they shut you down and they throw you around, and it never comes to what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. It's because what it is it's like we're in these meetings and you're at a fucking in a boardroom at a conference table listening to Joni. And you're like, this is my heart, you know? And it's at the same time, it's like I'm the kind of artist where, like I said, like I love the branding, I love the industry, I think the marketing stuff, like I think that's really fun. I love talking about that stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like, I'm playing these songs for people that are it's it's like literally a piece of yourself put out for people to critique. And honestly, what hurts more when you're in those meetings and people tell you how brilliant you are and how, oh, we can't wait to make you a deal or we can't wait to make you an offer. Like the amount of people who told me they were going to send me a deal to sign, I was like, great. And then we never hear from them again. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what sucks, is because in order to keep going, you need to be crazy because you need to think one of these things is going to work out.
Yeah.
But 99% of the opportunities I've been offered have fallen through, like genuinely. And I try to be as open and honest about it as possible because like every once in a while, like especially right like in the earlier parts of this year, I'd have people come up to me and be like, congratulations on everything. And I was like, on what? Like I had all these really cool things happening, but at the same time I was constantly getting rejected. Constantly. All the time. Like, getting just the craziest critiques you could get from people, like, having the deal fall through. The deal, if I had gotten that record deal, I wouldn't have to nanny anymore. I would have been able to quit my job. That's life
Yeah.
changing. And we all know this as people, if you're creative in any industry and you're working like a day job, like it's so hard. So it was,
If the day I can quit this damn substitute teaching job, greatest day
yeah,
of my life.
yeah, I can't wait. And like, it's just so weird because, and then, I'd have like friends. I've had friends of mine tell me like, yeah, like I compare myself to you because you have XYZ going on. And I'm like, girl, like, yes. And like, like, getting these tours was such a big deal. And then at the same time, it's like, I'm literally sleeping on floors. And I will be eating Taco Bell every day because that's all I can afford when I'm on the road. And it's going to be great. And it's also going to be really hard. And I'm going to maybe have credit card debt. You know what I mean? Like, this is just where we're living. Like, this is where we're at. It's high highs, low lows. It's like someone screaming your words back to you and telling you about their friendship breakup at the merch table and you like hugging each other and crying with this random stranger. And it's so fulfilling. And then that night you have to drive, an hour away to sleep on a stranger's floor and get Taco Bell on the way and feel like shit. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just, and then, you look in your inbox and it's 10 people telling you that your music isn't good enough. And to keep going, and you're like, I don't know. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's really hard. And I think what I learned too is talking to even artists who I've had the chance to work with who are like much farther along in their careers is it kind of stays like that, where there will be artists that you look up to and, tours I've done, people I've worked with where I'm like, wow, like they are doing it. They're able to make music full time. And they're like, girl, like I'm still having my friends take cover art for me because they can't afford it. You know what I mean? And it's the challenge is sort of like trying to enjoy the process, I guess.
Yeah. And you talk about like the statistics and everything. It's like trying to ride lightning at this point.
Oh, for
Of
sure.
like, and they talk about like making it as an artist is like harder than winning the lottery at this point. Like
Yeah.
there's so many factors in play and you have to have like
Yeah.
just the right thing. And I think like what we talked about at the beginning of like Chapel Roan is such like I love that she's getting the credit that she deserves, but it's such like a 1 in a million shot.
That's the thing too, is I'm going to very much expose myself here. Like I said at the beginning, like I struggle a lot with comparison and jealousy. That's I think one of my worst traits is I when it comes to music is I have such a hard time with that of opening up TikTok, seeing an artist get an opportunity and not feeling bad about myself and pitying myself. It's not good, It's something I'm like really trying to work on because it's not healthy, it's not helpful. No one wins in that
Yeah.
situation, right? And at the same time, that's the thing is you see someone like Chapel Roan, you're like, finally, this person who's so talented, so hardworking, so smart is getting her flowers. And also, it's not going to happen like that again for anyone in that way. That is so singular. you know? And so
Well, and
you
even she talks about of like everything now that she did get to where she wanted to be and what that
yes,
experience is like on the other side. Like
totally.
it's balance.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's hard. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't want to be so like pessimistic about all of it, but that's the thing is like there's a very real chance that in 10 years I'm not a musician anymore because I couldn't do it. And like I'm certainly gonna try my fucking hardest and do what I can. And the only there has to be a level of ego involved because like why else would we keep doing it? It's like we
Yeah.
all believe to a certain extent that like we might be the one that makes it. And you need that delusion in order to do it. But at the same time, yeah, the reality of the situation is like it is really hard. And it's bizarre the place I'm at in my career now where it's like I'm still working full time and then every once in a while I get like a very cool opportunity and then I have people in my DMs being like how do you do it? And I'm like, "Girl, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out." Like the other day I was holding a screaming baby and here I am today talking to you about my music and getting to talk about it to someone who like takes what I do seriously. Like it's all over the map.
It's a hope and a dream, and that's all
It's
it
a hope
can
and a
be.
dream. Yeah, it really is.
I think everyone has that like one relative that is like the most pessimistic person in their life whose whole job is to sit you down and tell you that you're
Mm,
never going to make it. Your dreams aren't real. Go work your little corporate job. And that's my uncle. I love him so much. I really do. Uncle Monty, you're a real one. But
yeah,
like, I went to visit him the other day and I sat down and like told him like what my plan is and everything. He's like, oh, that's really cute. It's not going to work. I was
yeah,
like, can you at least like pretend to have like
yeah,
a shred of faith? And like talking about like support systems, like I know my parents, like I never want to ever like want to them to support me or anything, but I know like they are so supportive in like their faith in me and what I can do. Like my
yeah.
mom is helping me right now. My mom is helping me move all my stuff into my house. Like she's such
Yes,
a real one and I love her so much. I love you, mom. But
yeah.
like
That's what it is. Is it's like I think something my mom always told me because she was a dancer, and that in itself, especially at the time she was doing it, she was dancing in like the 70s and 80s, and the rules were even stricter than they are now, especially for dance. It's like she would be like, I'd go into an audition, get to the final round, it'd be between me and one other girl for like the star of a Broadway show. And then they'd be like, well, Dorothy, you're just a little too short. And she'd be like, well, I was the same height 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, and so she would always tell me, she'd be like, and she had the kind of career that I think is harder to achieve now, where she never became a big star, but she was able to, for a period of time, dance careers are also famously short, where she, for a period of time, was able to support herself as a dancer. And she picked up odd jobs here and there, but she was able to have a career. And then later in life, she went back to college and, sort of pivoted once her dance career was done and all of that. But I think like having someone in my life who knew like you can have a career as an artist. It's not a pipe dream. It's not easy. You're constantly rejected. But you can do it. And she would always tell me, she'd be like, don't take yourself out of the running before it's even started. Like if you're this is so cheesy, but like if you're afraid to fail and that's what holds you back, well, then you failed. Like she would always say, like, you only fail if you quit. Which to a certain extent I don't totally. I think there's a point where you can, quit with dignity and be like, this is too much. But that being said, like I think to a certain extent that is so true, where it's like, if I quit, I told myself with Jesus Christ in a miniskirt specifically, right before I released that song, I was like literally out of money. I had gotten fired from my nannying job. I was out of money, nothing, couldn't afford to release a new song. And I told myself, I said, you know what? Maybe it's a good time to pause. Maybe now is a good time to hit the brakes on music and take a beat because I can't afford literally and mentally to keep going. Like it was too much. And sat down with my friend Alex. I had been told I'd gotten the Spotify like artist to watch thing, and I was like, that's amazing. But I can't do anything about it because I have no money to release any more music. Like I guess this is my last hurrah, basically. I sat down with my friend Alex, who I did Do You Like Me with, and he was like, Meg, release one more song. Like just do one more song around this project. Like do what you have to do figure it out. I don't agree with this, but he was like, put it on your credit card, figure it out later. And I was like, well, okay. I don't know about that, but like I see the point you're making. He was like, I'll do whatever I can to help you. Like, just you need to figure it out. Like, this is, getting an opportunity like that, you just have to make it work. So I found funding randomly. I looked at a bunch of different grants. I did what I had to do. I barely afforded to put that song out. Like, definitely did put some stuff on my credit card and said I'll figure it out later, which was not smart and I don't recommend. And then it was Jesus Christ in a miniskirt, and that gave my career like this whole wave through the end of the year where I was like, okay, well, there is a glimmer of hope. It certainly has not been easy, but yeah, if you quit, then you're taking yourself out of the running. You have no idea what's going to happen. You just don't.
You never know what's waiting on the other side of that curve.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you did, because I really, really like the song.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think if I hadn't released that song, I probably wouldn't be making music right now, And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The thing that's helped me is I'll say I'll just get through XYZ. Like right now, recently I was like, okay, like I'm touring with Mr. Wives in November. I told myself, let me just get through that tour and then I can see where I am in my life, And then what happens, and what's happened to me so far, is I get through the next thing, and by the time I'm there's another thing. And I'm like, well, let me just get through this next one. And that's kind of what has kept me going, is I'm like, just whatever, in little 6-month bursts, I'll be like, let me just get through these next couple months, and then I can always quit and become a full-time nanny again and pivot, go back to school, whatever, figure it out, yeah, I don't know. I'm the kind of person where like I'd hate to look back and be like, well, I didn't try, I want to know that if for some reason, God forbid, I quit making music, I can really feel like I gave it everything. I really did, So.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like having those like landmarks to fall on, it helps like prolong your longevity of like, I just need to get this far. If I can get that far, then I've done it. I'm good.
Yeah. Because if you look too much at the big picture, it's too overwhelming.
A year is so long when you think about it. It's such a long period of time. My fallback is like, if this whole like life thing doesn't work, I'm just gonna become a goat herder in like Austria. I'm gonna Sound of Music it up, and I'm
do it. Exactly. That's always an option.
Yeah, like there are always goats on hills. They need somebody to watch them.
No one's gotta be there. Yeah.
Okay, so we have one more segment.
Yes.
It's my favorite segment. It's my favorite part. This is First Date with Your New Favorite Artist.
Oh my God.
It's my favorite part. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want you to give me like your big, like your fastest, your best answer. It's from the heart. It's from the soul. We're going to start off really intense, really hard. Here we go. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh, 9 to 5, Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, what is the last song that you listened to?
Honestly, I think I listened to, I think it was Perfume by The Dare.
Okay.
I'm on a big The Dare kick.
I'm like so into him right now. Of like, I think it's because I was really into Charlie XCX.
Yeah,
I got really into Brat, and now I'm slowly shifting. It's a problem.
Yeah.
All right, instead of Kiss, Marry, Kill, collab, open for, or become best friends with?
Ooh.
Taylor Swift, Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter.
Collab, open for, become friends with.
Yes.
I want to be friends with Chappell Roan.
Real.
Desperately. Do you see that bubble that popped up? That was crazy. I want to collab with Sabrina, and I want to open for Taylor. Yeah.
Her openers for the Eras Tour have been, I miss Suki Waterhouse, and I will never forgive myself for that.
One of my really, it's not to go on a tangent, but my really good songwriter friends, we started writing songs together in Nashville when I was like, I think 19 or something. She just started writing songs on the Suki Waterhouse project, and I'm so excited for her. I remember getting coffee with her a year ago. She also, like, speaking of someone who's like wanted to quit a million times, her and I both were like, do we just quit? She works like a part-time corporate job, and she was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I was like, I don't know, it sucks. And we got coffee, and she's like, yeah, like, I actually lost my job. I have to find a new corporate job, but also I've started writing songs for Suki Waterhouse. I wonder if they'll ever come out. And I was like, yeah. And now they are. And I'm so proud of her. Anyway, go Chelsea.
That Sparkle Muffin tour is about to go crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Your favorite studio or tour snack?
Honestly, this is a classic, but I love it every time. Pretzels and hummus. There's like a spicy hummus from Trader Joe's that slaps. That's my go-to.
Cukes and hummus is unmatched
Yeah.
too. That's one of my faves.
Oh, delish.
Do you consider yourself a songwriter or a performer?
Hard. Honestly, surprisingly, I think songwriter first. I
I think
think
that, yeah,
definitely started as a songwriter and I don't know. Yeah, songwriter. Saying
I
it with
know.
my chest.
From the heart. Okay. Oh, this one is one of the most like hotly debated one.
Mm,
One song do you wish you wrote?
it's really, really tough. I need to open up my
No, I know. I
music.
have to update I update my answer every episode. I need to figure out what mine is today.
Oh, that's really tough.
I actually have a playlist because of it now. There we go. I think mine today is going to be Never Been in Love by Gatlin. It's the one I always
Oh,
wish
I
I wrote.
love Gatlin.
She was the first guest on my podcast, and she's my favorite artist ever.
Oh, she's so cool.
I love her so much.
Oh God, this is so hard. This is really tricky.
I know, I'm telling you, this is the hardest question. Out of every question I will ever ask on an episode, this is the one that just makes people crumble under the pressure.
Okay, you know what? Okay, I need to go with my gut. I'm gonna say Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Tears for Fears.
Ooh,
I'm saying it. That's what I'm gonna do.
that's on my Feel It in Your Veins playlist. That's an
Oh,
excellent choice. 10
it's
out
like
of 10.
cosmic. It like yeah, speaking of feeling of it in your like feeling it in your veins, it's like you hear that song and it's you can't help but be like, oh my God. It gets me.
Uh, that one and Super Cup by Lord. I like those are two songs that like are
Mhm.
transcendent to me.
Or can I do one more? I'm so
I
sorry.
will, yes, please. Take
Okay,
one more.
I'm so sorry. This
That's
is one of my
okay.
favorite songs of all time. I'm such a fangirl of hers. Boy Who Has Everything by Annika Bennett. Do you know this
Yes.
song?
Yes. I love Annika.
I first saw her, she opened up for a friend of mine in New York at the bitter end, like honestly, 7 years ago, like a really long time ago. And she played that song, and I was like, that might be one of the most perfect songs ever written. Honestly, it is heart wrenching. I think she's honestly like her and like Amy Allen, I think are like the best songwriters of her generation. Like, I think Annika
Oh,
Bennett is gonna be like, I mean, she is. She's written with Chapel Roan. Like, she's just amazing. I'm obsessed with her.
I know. I've been on a whole like Amy Allen conspiracy
Mm.
kick of like I just think every great song is written by her secretly.
That's actually true, though.
Okay, so we talked about like working towards milestones.
Mhm.
What is the next one we're currently working towards other than Mr. Wives? Because I'm not very pumped.
That's crazy. Yeah, those will be the biggest shows I've ever played. So I'm really excited for that. I think I have two. I think I have a couple. I think one is in 2025. I really want to do headline shows of some kind. I literally like wrote it in my notes. I was like manifesting headline shows. Whether that means I play like a New York show and an LA show, or if I'm able to do more like headline, I think that's like a big goal of mine for next year. Um, Another one is I want to like open for a dream artist. Like, I don't know. I always reach for the stars, and my managers are like, "We'll ask." Remember, I have like a Lex. Like, I don't have a booking agent, so I just get shows by just like literally cold emailing people. And I remember sending my managers a list of artists and being like, fuck it, let's reach out to Dua Lipa. And they were like, okay, why not? Sure.
What's
Um,
the worst that's gonna happen?
so yeah, the worst is they ghost, which they did, and fair enough. That's totally fair.
As she
Actually, to be
does.
fair, I think it was some big artist. Their team was like, yeah, like we'll keep her in mind. They for sure have not kept me in mind. But I was like, hey, they responded. Yeah, a big goal. Like I think a dream would be opening up for like Renee Rapp or Maisie Peters, or I know Chapel has drag queens open for her, and she's probably too big now. I probably wouldn't be able to open for her. Like opening up for one of those artists that I've just like really looked up to and have loved for a long time. That's one of my big goals, is to like open up for one of those artists where I'm just like, yeah, like a really big fan.
Um,
I really, really need you to open up for Renee Rapp. I'm going to manifest that happens, and I need you to do it in
I'm
Florida
trying.
specifically.
Even like Maud Latour, like I
Ugh.
and that one I'm trying. I'm DMing her. I'm like, hey girl.
I'm in her DMs. You're in her DMs. I'm just like spamming her.
And it's like it's funny because like same with Annika Bennett. I'm like her and Maud Latour like probably think I'm insane because I'm like, hey girly, I'm literally obsessed with you. And they're like, thanks. I'm like, I'm trying not to be weird about it, but I'm also like in love with you. So like Maud Latour, like that would be huge. I'm such a huge fan of hers and I've been a fan of hers forever. So that would be great. Something like that. And then I think I want to make an album. Um, that's a big goal. I don't know, to be honest, when I'll have time, but because I'm working all the time. But I would love to in 2025, at least start working on an album. That's a big goal of mine.
I will be ready for it. Sitting
Thanks.
here
Thanks.
streaming. Okay, last one. What do you wish you knew before you started this process?
This is sort of like sad, but it is true. I think like believe it when it happens. I think it's in music specifically. People talk so much bullshit and you can't take it personally. Can't even tell you, like, we were talking about the label stuff. Like, there's just so many times where people said they were going to do XYZ. I thought I had a booking agent. I thought I had a record deal. I thought I had an opening slot for an artist, and you get ghosted and it falls through. And it's just like that. And it's not going to stop being like that. And there are good people in the mix who will be honest with you and be supportive and genuine, and they're awesome, and keep them around. And also, believe it when you see it. No one's going to roll out the red carpet and just like make it happen for you. So create your own opportunities. If you want to play a show, book a show, even if no one comes, because they might not.
Work it out in the
If you want
empty
to release
room.
a song, release a song. The first song you release is going to be bad, and you're going to probably want to take it off Spotify, and you can do that. You know what I mean? Like, you got to start somewhere. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think that there is definitely someone out there who needed to hear that. So it's
And you know what? Again, also like the people you look up to are also like just as confused as you are. We're all confused.
yeah, that has definitely been a thing that like you don't realize when you're a kid, and then like
Yeah.
everyone like I like have a conversation with my parents now, and I'm like, oh, you are just as
Yes.
like confused as I am. Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Wow, you have like a lot that's about to happen, man. You just put out a whole new, brand new, amazing song. You're getting ready to go on tour.
I know.
I'm seeing you on November 11th with Mr. Wives.
Oh, yay.
So I'll be right up front and I'll be like screaming and it'll be great.
Oh, I'm so excited. Those shows are gonna be super fun.
And you were featured on their encore album. What was that like?
Oh, that was crazy. It was so bizarre how it happened. I had fired my old managers and was looking for a new manager, as you do. And I met with someone who actually ended up not working with, but who was lovely. And she was like, "Oh, I just like happened to be really good friends with Mandy from Mr. Wives. Like, you guys should work together." And I was like, "For sure." And also I was like, "Yeah, right." You know what I mean? Like nothing's gonna come of it. And like within a couple days, Mandy had emailed me and was like, "Hey, like we're working on this album. You want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Yes, yes,
Please.
please." And that was so fun because it's very refreshing to like meet a successful band where they're all just like really nice, normal, lovely people. And because some people are crazy. And so they're awesome and genuinely so lovely, so nice, so supportive of me. Like Mandy has just like listened to me complain about the music industry, and she's so fucking cool, and I'm her biggest fan. And that was really cool. That was really, really fun.
That makes me so happy. I'm really, really excited for that show. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Yeah, and I've never seen them live. Like I'm just excited to like see the show. The show's gonna be good. I'm excited.
Oh. So we are going on tour. We're putting out new music. Anything else we need to come to expect from you?
Oh man, project is coming very soon. There's a lot of really exciting video stuff that I've been directing for the first time that I'm so excited about. The tour is gonna be crazy and so silly and so fun. And yeah, I'm really excited for this project. It's been a really long time in the making. And yeah, there's so much thought and planning that goes into everything. And obviously I do so much of it myself. So I just hope people like it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sunshine Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Maddie Campbell. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at the Sunshine Pod and stream us anywhere you listen to podcasts, and go watch the video version on YouTube. Be sure to follow Meg on social media at LOL Meg Smith. Watch out for new music and go see if you can spot her on tour with a few dates that she's got left with Zolita and Mr. Wives. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please answer the poll down below if you're listening to us on Spotify. And if you're an artist or you know an artist or you really want to hear your favorite indie artist on the podcast, be sure to plug them in there or DM me on social media. I love you all so much. Hope you're having an amazing rest of your day, and stay sunny, folks.